Okay, so two things are happening right now. The first thing is that, no, three things have happened. The first thing is obviously the lockdown party that the Conservative Party members have been having. Lockdown parties, I think, plural. Second thing is those lockdown parties are clearly celebrating when the rest of the public will be locked down because of the Omicron variant. Everybody is expected to have another lockdown imminently, due to the rising number of COVID illnesses, which just happens to coincide with the rising number of flu cases, but we won't go there. And the third thing is that the anti-vaxxers are increasingly being associated with far-right activists, with reptilian conspiracists, and with anybody who doesn't trust big business. Now, that third part, truth be told, more than any COVID or COVID variant, what scares me more are the status quo and the levels of self-delusion that they will engage in just for what? What? The illusion of safety? First off, with those lockdown parties, I mean, it's a fucking Tory party. What are you gonna, what do you expect? They only know three things: war, money, and fucking media. And those are pretty much the breadth of their knowledge. So, of course, they're stepping in at a time where the world is about to reset and there's about to be mass depopulations. In order to lead that charge, you need people who are money people in order to lead that charge. I'm not talking about the average Joe, I'm talking about people in power. They need money people to ensure that any assets that are not making any money, like the marginalized, which I'll come to in a moment, any people that are not making any citizens, because remember, citizens are secretly assets. All of them have trust in their name, secret trust in their name, right? So any asset that's not making bank, they're getting ready to liquidate. They do this at the end of every empire, at the end of each cycle, and it's getting more and more premeditated with each empire cycle, which is like every 250 years. So every 250 years, it becomes more and more premeditated, right? And in order to lead that charge, you need people who are more interested in money and less interested in public interest, okay? It's one of those things I don't take it personally, even though it's completely awful and completely terrible. I don't take it personally. It's just a fact of life. I happen to be born as a marginalized person, technically, right? So the whole lockdown party thing doesn't surprise me. You're talking about a party who more openly puts profit first. That's the first thing. The second thing is, with the variants, I've spoken to nurses and care workers with regards to this situation, and they've always noted that the cases usually go down in summer and go up in winter, like overall. There have been cases where during summer there might be higher numbers, but invariably it leads to people in summer, there are lower cases in summer, higher cases in winter, because of course the colder something is, the more there's flu, all the rest of it. You do the math, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing is actually the most terrifying. And this is exactly why I say that people in power can be far scarier than any disease. Because everything that's happening to people relies upon narcissistic abuse. And narcissistic abuse does what? It relies on rational explanations and logical explanations in order to do illogical things. So through the guise of a pandemic, people in power have been able to engage in lockdowns, which has harmed businesses, caused food shortages, basically almost decimated the agricultural industry. And, you take a pick. So basically the pandemic has been used as an excuse to basically run down multiple businesses or multiple industries so that the very richest people can annex those businesses, annex those lands, This is exactly what I'm saying. They use things that are reasonable. Like, if there's a pandemic and everybody's sick, then sure, we should be looking after ourselves. You should be more careful. The problem is that very reasonable and logical explanation of, there's a variant or there's a pandemic out there is being used to do evil and unjustifiable things. And they're not doing it for us. They're doing it in the name of profit. Like this thing with, this is what I notice as well. The mental illness bar is being doubled down on. Now, anybody who's familiar with mental health, or anybody who's familiar with the mental health sector of medicine, they know that there are a lot more cases where things turn badly than when things turn out well. There are people who are overdosed on their medications. There are people who are sectioned over bullshit. There are people who are given electroshock therapy when they don't fucking need it. There are so many horror stories with regards to mental health and what happens to people who are mentally ill. There are way more horror stories than there are success stories. That's why the success stories get pressed. I've studied journalism. I know how it works. The rarest stories are the ones who are put forward. So if you've got people getting better as a result of their mental illness, of course they want to bring that forward, because A, it rarely happens, and B, it makes the mental health sector of medicine look good. And it makes it look like they're performing a valuable service, rather than doing this thing of silencing or giving chemical or electric lobotomies to anybody who seems to be not functioning in a society that is principally abusive. First of all, what happens is that they get people scared of mental illness in the first place. Now it's getting better because we live in a more liberal society, so that's getting better. But playing on people's fear of mental illness, playing on that animal fear of mental illness is exactly what is going to ultimately begin this purging. And the thing is that people who are anti-vax, even though they cross multiple different political leanings, even though they cross multiple class systems, multiple class levels, even though they're people of all races, all both genders, all types of shit, right? Guess who the anti-vaxxers are being associated with? They're being associated with the far right. They're being associated with working class white people. They're being associated with people who believe in reptilians. They're being associated with people who believe the earth is flat. So what they've done is they've taken all different types of conspiracy theories, both true and not true, grouped them together and decided that anybody who thinks any one of these things has to have a terrorist or cult-like or extremist mentality. This has been done before. It was done when women wanted their rights. It was done when black people wanted their rights. And now it's being done to people who see right through government and who can see what government are doing and who don't want any part of it. Follow it on. And it's happening at a time where women and children and black folk are having more power and wealth than ever. Well, like I said, there is a reset button that is clicked. Only I believe that the depopulation is happening through, I can't say too much, but suffice to say that the mental health industry or the mental health sector of medicine provides one arm of genocide, and COVID-19 provides the other arm. Basically killing people off to preserve resources. That's all this is. And all these people who want to use mental health, they want to use Schadenfreude and fucking controlling BS in order to deem anybody that has a different viewpoint to them as mentally ill, because God knows that has to be better than just admitting you're fucking scared and you don't know everything. Gotta be better, right? It has to be better than admitting that you're just scared and you don't know what's going on and you're frightened, you don't know what to do. Instead of admitting all that, just say that somebody with a different viewpoint to you, who might be telling you, hey, listen, remember that we are a profit-generating society and everything is built on trade. Do you really think that everything that these people do are for our benefit? We've got people out here who genuinely want to help, but they are not among the echelons. The upper echelons. They're not among the upper echelons. The upper echelons are focused on building and remaking the world in their own image. People like that are not going to be interested in what's best for us, but what's best for their vision. So when somebody tells you this, instead of thinking to yourself, okay, well, that changes things and I'm genuinely scared and I don't know what to do, what do? You slap mental illness on them. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Again, I said it before and I'm saying it again. The gang stalkers know what's going on. They know all of this is a fucking lie. They know all of this is a fucking lie. Given the weapons that they're privy to, given the central hubs that have been contacting them and telling them to target certain individuals. Wow. Hey, how are you? Thank you very much. Given everything that's happened, the gang stalkers know that this whole COVID thing, they know that everything is a fucking lie. That's why they need to double down. Listen, gang stalking is a microcosm of everything that's been going on with COVID-19. Anybody who doesn't believe or anybody whose awareness is too high, mentally ill. That person needs electroshock therapy. That person needs medication. That person needs to be watched over. Anything other than actually admit what has been happening and give people the tools to manage their trauma. I am okay. Hope you're doing fine also. I'm surviving. Thank you. So instead of looking at all these factors, mentally ill, mentally ill, mentally ill, if people think the gang stalkers don't know, they're deluding themselves. They're deluding themselves. There are people who are gang stalkers, who have been gang stalking me, who said that this shit was a setup years ago. And this is what the social behavioral experimentation that has been engaged with us, that's what it has led to, this situation. And the same tactics are being used. It's like kidnapping somebody and making the excuse that their lives are in danger. Only worse. I'm not scared of COVID. I am not scared of COVID. I'm scared of the fucking status quo that are having everybody thinking and everybody believing that anybody who argues with you is suddenly into some crackpot shit. That's who I'm scared of. I'm scared of the fucking status quo. I'm scared of the people in power who will do anything to hold on to that power, including creating a white supremacist society and making out like they're not doing that. That's who I'm scared of. COVID didn't fucking mess with my hips and leave me unable to walk for fucking weeks. COVID didn't cause me pain here and here every time I got a little bit more confident than I should be. COVID didn't do that. COVID didn't have me fucking locked up in mental health care or locked up, fucking COVID didn't have me locked up in hospital or, call the police on me multiple times for being wise to somebody's shit. COVID didn't fucking try to traumatize me out of doing all the things that I love, like playing piano or singing. COVID didn't do that. So why should I be afraid of that? COVID didn't turn some of my family against me. COVID didn't torture my family or kill my family. Why the fuck should I be scared of COVID? I ain't scared of COVID-19. I'm scared of Freemasons 12. The fuck? Scared of them. Scared of them fuckers. They're even cleansing their own out. They're even cleansing their own out and restarting all over again. Fuck, that's who the fuck I'm scared of. I'm not scared of no COVID-19. There are things that COVID-19 have done to people. The amount that I've suffered. And COVID-19 had nothing to do with it. And still has almost nothing to do with it. This is entirely about depopulation. It is entirely about power. It is entirely about, I don't know why people are not waking the fuck up. I don't know what it's going to take. And these people who will happily say that if you don't believe what I believe, you're mentally ill, condemning that person, potentially condemning that person to a life of unnecessary drugs, overdose drugs, mental trauma, abuse, electroshock therapy, just because you don't want to deal with the truth. Whatever you dish out, it comes back times 3. That's the thing that pisses me off the most. And if you don't suffer the consequences of what you've done, then your children are going to suffer the consequences of what you've done. Your descendants are going to suffer the consequences of what you've done. And you know what the worst part is? They probably won't deserve it. That's the worst part. They probably won't fucking deserve it at all. Simply because of what you fucking did. And the part that you played in this fucking genocide. I have to focus on my survival. I've tried. I talk to other TIs. Other TIs don't need me. They've got other people to speak for them. They've got people that are willing to, that they're willing to listen to speak for them. They don't need me. All I can do is get online and talk my feelings because, I can't reach anybody else by phone and my friendship circle is very small. So that's all I can do is just get my feelings out online. If somebody listens, somebody listens. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Somebody listens, somebody listens. That's all I can do. I can't keep telling people what's going on. They just don't want to know. It's either that or they need emotional time to get used to it. They need emotional time that, truth be told, we didn't have decades ago. We didn't have time decades ago to get our head around the fact that we live in a world of trade, and that trade involves usually doing selfish and cruel things. We ran out of time for that. During the AIDS crisis, we ran out of time to realize that. We ran out of time a long time ago, let alone now. We're out of time. Every man for himself. That's what the fuck I'm gonna do. And if it works out, it works out. It doesn't, it doesn't. I listen to you or wants to reach out to you. How can I do that? If I'm following you back, you can DM me. But yeah. This shit is a mess. But anyway, I gotta go. I want to thank Poetry 101S for joining me. Yeah, that's it. Take care. Bye.